The Urho Kekkonen National Park, a vast, untamed wilderness in the heart of Finland. Imagine a sea of towering pines, their dark silhouettes stark against the twilight sky. The air is crisp, infused with the scent of pine needles and damp earth. This is a land of stark beauty where nature reigns supreme. A place where man is but a visitor, dwarfed by the immensity of the landscape. Deep within this wilderness, far from the comforting glow of civilization, lies a silence so profound it can be felt. It presses in on you, a tangible presence. The silence is broken only by the whisper of the wind through the trees, a sound both soothing and unsettling. This is a place of mystery, where the line between reality and imagination blurs, where the unknown lurks just beyond the reach of the campfire's light. In the heart of this wilderness, where the trees whisper ancient secrets and the air is crisp with the scent of pine, three friends embarked on an adventure, one that would test their endurance and deepen their bond. They sought solace in nature's embrace, finding peace in the rustling leaves and the gentle flow of the streams. It was a chance to escape the clamor of their everyday lives, to disconnect from the digital world and reconnect with each other. They were drawn to the challenge, the allure of the unknown, and the thrill of testing their limits against the raw power of the wild. The steep trails and thick underbrush were no match for their determination. Each step forward was a testament to their resolve. Their backpacks were heavy with supplies, packed meticulously to ensure they had everything they needed for the journey ahead. Yet, despite the weight on their shoulders, their hearts were light with anticipation, filled with the joy of the adventure that lay before them. They were prepared for the physical challenges that lay ahead, the long hikes, the steep climbs, and the cold nights under the stars. The long hikes and the cold nights were part of the adventure, a test of their resilience and camaraderie. But nothing could have prepared them for what awaited them in the heart of the wilderness, the unexpected twists and turns that would challenge their very core. There was Liam, the pragmatic one, always prepared for the unexpected, his mind constantly working through potential scenarios. Next to him was Alina, her eyes sparkling with a thirst for adventure, her spirit unyielding and her enthusiasm infectious. And finally, there was Maddie, the quiet observer, his gaze constantly scanning their surroundings, always alert and aware. They were an unlikely trio, bound together by a shared love of adventure and a deep respect for the natural world. They had faced challenges before, but nothing like what awaited them in the heart of Urho Kekkonen National Park, a place where nature reigns supreme and every step is a new discovery. As darkness descended, the friends set up camp. The forest around them was alive with the sounds of nature, the rustling of leaves, and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. They worked quickly, eager to settle in before the night fully took hold. The warmth of the fire was a welcome contrast to the growing chill in the air. They huddled close, feeling the heat seep into their bones, pushing away the cold that seemed to creep in from the shadows. They shared stories and laughter, their voices a comforting counterpoint to the silence of the wilderness. Each tale was met with bursts of laughter, the kind that made their sides ache and their eyes water. But as the fire died down and the stars emerged, the silence returned. It was a profound silence, one that seemed to amplify the vastness of the night sky above them. It was a different kind of silence now, heavier, more oppressive, the kind that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand up, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. It began subtly at first, a faint murmur carried on the wind. It was almost imperceptible, blending seamlessly with the natural sounds of the forest. Liam dismissed it as the wind playing tricks on their ears. He laughed it off, trying to ease the tension that was beginning to build among them, but as the night wore on, the sounds grew louder. What was once a faint murmur became a persistent whisper, as if the forest was trying to communicate with them. Whispers, barely audible, seemed to emanate from the darkness beyond the firelight. They strained their ears, trying to make out words, but it was just out of reach. Then came the sounds of heavy machinery, a low rumbling that seemed to vibrate through the very ground beneath their feet. It was an unnatural sound, out of place in the serene forest. Fear gnawed at the edges of their campfire cheer. The once comforting glow of the fire now seemed fragile, barely holding back the encroaching darkness. What they were hearing defied explanation, their unease growing with each passing moment. The forest, once a place of adventure and camaraderie, now felt like a living entity, watching and waiting. Driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity, Liam and Alina decided to investigate. Matty, his face pale in the firelight, opted to stay behind, his eyes darting nervously into the darkness. Armed with only their flashlights, Liam and Alina ventured into the night. The sounds grew louder as they pushed deeper into the woods. The whispers seemed closer now, more insistent. The rhythmic thudding of machinery echoed through the trees. They circled their campsite, their flashlight beams cutting through the darkness. But their search yielded nothing. No sign of human presence, no explanation for the unsettling sounds. The sounds seemed to move with them, surrounding them, yet always remaining just out of reach. They found themselves disoriented, their senses on high alert. The forest seemed to press in on them, the darkness alive with unseen eyes. Just as suddenly as they had begun, the sounds ceased. The silence that descended was absolute, deafening in its intensity. Liam and Alina stood frozen, their hearts pounding in their chests. They listened intently, but the forest held its breath. The only sound was the beating of their own hearts. They made their way back to camp, their steps slow and cautious. Matty looked up as they approached, his eyes questioning. They had no answers for him, no explanation for the unsettling events of the night. They sat in silence, the remnants of the fire casting long shadows that danced in the darkness. They were left to grapple with the unexplainable, their minds racing with questions that had no answers. The next morning they packed their campsite. The sun was high in the sky, but it did little to dispel the chill that had seeped into their bones. The forest seemed different now, no longer a place of peace and tranquility, but rather a silent, watchful presence. The journey back to civilization seemed to take an eternity. Every creak of a branch, every rustle of leaves sent shivers down their spines. They were eager to leave the wilderness behind, to return to a world of reason and logic. Yet, a part of them knew that they would never be the same. They had looked into the abyss of the unknown, and it had looked back. The events of that night in the Urho Kekkonen National Park remained a haunting memory. The forest, with its dense canopy and whispering winds, seemed to hold secrets that were never meant to be uncovered. Every rustle of leaves, every distant howl, brought back flashes of that fateful night. They returned to their lives, but the wilderness held a piece of them captive. The memories of the eerie sounds and the feeling of being watched lingered in their minds. It was as if the forest had imprinted itself on their souls, leaving an indelible mark. They shared their story with friends and family, but words seemed inadequate to capture the terror that had gripped them. The fear in their eyes and the tremor in their voices spoke volumes more than their words ever could. Around campfires and dinner tables, the tale was told and retold, each time with the same sense of dread. Some dismissed their experience as a collective hallucination, a trick of the mind. They suggested that the isolation and the darkness had played games with their senses, but those who were there knew better. The fear they felt was too real to be imagined. Others listened with a mixture of skepticism and fascination. They were intrigued by the mystery, drawn to the unknown. The story became a topic of heated debates and endless speculation, with each listener adding their own theories and interpretations. The mystery of the sounds in the wilderness remained unsolved. No one could explain the source of the noises or the feeling of being watched. It was as if the forest itself was alive, a sentient being with its own secrets and desires. It became a part of their shared history, a bond forged in fear and uncertainty. The experience brought them closer, creating a connection that went beyond words. They found solace in each other's company, knowing that they were not alone in their fear. They learned to live with the unanswered questions, the lingering sense of unease. The forest had changed them, made them more aware of the mysteries of the natural world. They became more attuned to the subtle sounds and movements around them, always on edge, always alert. The experience had changed them, left them with a profound understanding of the vastness and mystery of the natural world. They realized that there were forces at play that they might never fully comprehend, and that was both humbling and terrifying. It was a reminder that there are forces at play in the universe that we may never fully comprehend. The night sky with its countless stars seemed to whisper secrets of its own, adding to the enigma that had forever altered their perception of the world.